All right, in part one of this series, we talked to you about different types of knives. Okay, the importance of respecting the fact that knives in this classroom be kept extremely sharp, how to communicate when you're moving around the room with the knife, how to pass the knife to someone else, okay, and all those sorts of things that have to do with safety of using the knife. But now it's time to actually start getting ready to use the knife. So we have these knives that we used to use in previous years. Okay, before we upgraded, which we'll get to a real knife later on. They are covered on the edges with electrical tape and masking tape. That doesn't mean that they're totally dummy proof, as we say. The tip might be poking through some tape as it's worn down, so don't be rubbing this on your hand. But if you make a bad move with this and nick your finger, it shouldn't cut you. All right, so let me zoom in a little bit so we can talk about the way that you all should be holding a knife. All right, so let's talk about the ways that we potentially are going to hold this knife. Okay, so this is coming from a right hand perspective, all right, and that is my dominant, more coordinated hand. There are three different ways that we might be holding this knife. Okay, one is a wraparound grip. So you guys can see it's what you might call a baseball grip, a wraparound, okay? That's commonly used. I'm gonna have a nice firm grip on this. You might see a lot more chefs using what's known as a pinch. So in a pinch grip, my pointer finger is gonna come on this side of the knife and my thumb here with the other three fingers wrapped around. Okay, so I'm pinching the knife here and I've got three there. I kind of prefer the pinch, okay, because I feel like it gives me a little bit more control of turning the knife at angles as I need to, okay, and also I like the fact that because my hand is positioned this way, it's in a little bit tighter because I want to work in kind of tight, controlled spaces, okay, so wrap around, pinch. They sometimes will alternate a little bit back and forth, especially if doing a lot of knife work. Sometimes in the pinch, okay, you might find that a part of the knife might rub on your finger a little bit. You might start to develop a hot spot. Okay, the beginning of a blister. All right, so wrap around, pinch. The other one that works for some people is they have this wrap around with three, and instead of the pinch, this pointer finger's on top. Okay, that feels weird to me, but you know, it's most important that you're comfortable with your grip. Okay, the thing for sure is you guys have a nice firm grip on this, not this loosey-goosey knife just kind of floating around your hand thing. All right, because this has a handle on it, and this is your more coordinated hand, the right hand for me, this hand pretty much stays safe, we would think. Not too many cuts on this hand. It's this other left hand, the non-coordinated hand, that's doing something with the food that has all sorts of potential cuts and scars, okay? And every scar tells a story, but you don't want to hear stories. There's a nice story of a good 4 stitches on that finger. All right, another time. So what do we do with this hand? The standard way to do this, okay, with this other hand is to make what we call a claw. And for the claw, okay, flipping your hand over, try to show this from the side. The claw, okay, is getting my fingers pull back so that the second, this is the first joint of my pointer finger, the second joint of the finger is a consistent like wall, okay? And when I put that down on the board, it's going to be a guide, okay? So it's flat, it's a guide. Now depending on what goes on with your middle finger, as far as how much it might stick up, you may have to angle this. Okay, so if you look at it from straight, this one's sticking out. All right, so that I can't go straight across. So for me, my first two at an angle. Now what this is, the claw is a guide for this knife to travel alongside. Okay, alongside that. And it's a wall, okay, the knife comes to a point. All right, so the bottom of the blade is not going to cut you. You need to trust the process. It's only going to cut you if you go at an angle like this, or it's going to cut you if you come up high. Okay, but it's a guide. Now, some people that come into class, or you see people, cooking at home and whatnot, I'll see modifications of this finger thing will be like this. Okay, they're holding food like this. I'm not a fan of that, though it can hold the food in place, because I only have to come up this high, barely over ½ an inch to cut the tip of my thumb. Okay, this is your proper claw. Okay, and what happens is with these fingertips, just pretending I'm cutting up my towel as food, is that these fingertips kind of dig in to the food. And what you hopefully are starting to see is there's a rhythm as I'm traveling down the board. Okay, so the rhythm is, let me get this position so y'all can see it. The tip stays down, and the cutting motion is down and through, drop back, down and through, drop back, down and through. It's a circular, let me get down the camera, it's a circular motion like this. It's kind of an oval, I should say. It's an oval motion, and it's away from you. Okay, so it's not towards you, it's away from you. Okay, so what we want you to practice on is just this rocking motion. And understand that your hand will kind of come across the board as you're cutting on food. That's to be expected. I don't want you keeping this knife in one position and forcing the food underneath the knife, because at the end when you go to force the food, your thumb is likely going to get there. And so that's honestly where we've had the most cuts over the years, is the thumb. Okay? Because when you do the claw, you got to make sure the thumb's not sticking out. See a little turtle? Turtle back in his shell. Alright? So you do this enough, you actually might start to get a little hot spot there. Every time you clip the top of your knuckle, ooh, that was going to be a gusher, but I got the safe knife. Okay? You have to imagine that someone who's working for hours during a shift, or hours at home doing lots of prep, can easily have hundreds, if not thousands, of knife strokes in a day. Day after day after day after day. And so the reality might be that some of us, the first time you pick up a chef's knife in this room might be the first time that you pick up a chef's knife your entire life. All right? And so don't be the person who's going to do this and not be looking down and not be paying attention to what you're doing. And I come to see how serious you're taking your practice, and your head's up in the clouds and you're drifting around and you're not paying attention. So we want to make sure that you guys are comfortable, got good muscle memory of this motion. And if we have a different type of practice knife, okay, like this white one here is a lot lighter in the handle, you'll feel the difference in that too.